I'm here with Donald Mustard, who's the creative director at Chair, and a man who probably doesn't need much of an introduction, but it's Cliff Bleszinski from Epic Games, and we're here to check out Shadow Complex.
I swear I'm not.
Oh no, Claire.
The first thing I'd like to ask you guys about is kind of how Chair and Epic became best buds.
We knew these guys for years, back when they were working on the Advent Rising title. Think about it, E3 a couple years ago, having good conversations with Donald and Laura. And when they did Undertow, which was a very well-received game on Xbox Live Arcade, we're like, these guys they got something. And they put together kind of a little mini vertical slice of Shadow Complex, and we're like, okay, this feels like Out of This World meets Super Metroid with a little Contra thrown in. Boom. And then we're like, okay, let's work together. And, a year and a half later, here we are, put the final polishes on something that we think is going to really raise the bar for Xbox Live Arcade.
So am I right in thinking that this is based on an Orson Scott Card novel? Or it's derived from that?
Yeah, so a few years ago when we were sitting down, we were kind of coming up with the story for our Empire franchise, which this is part of. We'd worked with Scott a little bit on Advent Rising, and he just fell in love with it. He was like, oh my goodness, I would love to make my next book part of this franchise. So we really started talking about it, and then he ended up licensing the rights from us and writing the book, and it was an instant New York Times bestseller. It was a huge thing and really kind of helped kick off the franchise. And that's what's so cool about this game, is it really runs parallel to the events in the novel and really kind of sets up the sequel, or the sequel to the book that comes out this fall.
You got the armor, but you don't know how to use it.
I'm a quick learner.
Yeah, so we start off the game, similar to some of the cooler old school games where we throw you into the middle of a big battle sequence where we give you a taste of some of the goodies that are to come later in the game. You're trying to stop this assassination on the vice president from happening, and you do it quickly, and we do that, and then we kind of throw the player into the game.
Right. So we're seeing some of the Contra influence right there. So we've got the 2D, and then you're kind of shooting back into the screens to take down the helicopter.
It's kind of nice because it's the classic RPG thing, like Donald was saying, where we give you just a taste. Get to see how cool you're going to be, and then we take it all away, and then you're just an average hiker with a flashlight. And
That's cruel. You're a tease. You've always been a tease.
Well, it's putting that little bug in your head, man. The first one's always free.
And how are you? Were you surprised to going to see the Unreal Engine tech applied in this way, into a kind of a 2.5D environment?
I think it's a great thing for the tech. I mean, sometimes when people see the engine, they instantly assume, oh, it's an FPS engine, yada yada yada. But I mean, even if you look at like a game like Borderlands that Gearbox is doing, that looks really really tight. It's very much a shooter, but it's also an RPG, and that has kind of a cel-shaded style. Looks nothing like Gears at all. This game looks nothing like Gears, and it's we're just giving you the canvas and the paintbrush. It's up to you as a designer or a creator to create your product and build whatever the heck you want, because it's just polygons and pixels, man.
Cool. So obviously I'm seeing here, it's a pretty expansive map. I mean, how long do you think it's going to take the average player to kind of get through this?
Well, we're finding that most people are taking anywhere from 10 to 14 hours to get through it on their first playthrough. So I mean, this is a very deep, full-featured game. And I really think kind of the Metroidvania style of game is a genre all into its own, and we see this more as just another entry into that genre of game. And we think we've done a lot of stuff to really kind of elevate that and add some really kind of new stuff that people are going to love to see as they get through the game. Stuff like a foam gun that you can use to build geometry anywhere in the world, that you can use to make a bridge, to make cover, to make all sorts of different stuff that you can do to exploit the game world. But again, it's kind of in the classic style. It was important to us that you could do speed runs of the game. So the best players, if they know where everything is, you can beat the game in under 2 hours at 100%.
Now, obviously, with the likes of Super Metroid, that's kind of an unofficial, kind of competition that fans of the game have. Is this something you actually implemented as a game mechanic, post completion?
Absolutely. We've done some really, really cool stuff with the leaderboards that will really reward players who take the time to exploit the game. It's not just doing speed runs, but there's awesome ways to do sequence breaking and all sorts of that kind of stuff that the hardcore fans will really be looking for.
If you get something like the foam gun and you use it in a creative way, you can bypass an entire section of the game if you're really super creative and talented. Yeah. But 99% of gamers aren't going to realize that the first time through. But then it's almost this meta game comes out of players, uploading YouTube videos of how to get to different areas quicker, and it's this little kind of way of seeding the world that players are going to want to talk about the game.
I'm sure you're working away on a big budget blockbuster of sorts. You've been quite conspicuous by your silence recently.
One thing we do have is Gears of War 2 Dark Corners, which is an expansion on Xbox Live that's coming out on July 28th. It's 90 minutes of campaign that was previously going to be in Gears 2, but unfortunately wound up on the cutting room floor, so we polished it up. Marcus and Dom get to go a little stealth wearing Locust outfits, and that's pretty cool to see with some really cool multiplayer maps. And there's a whole bunch of other really exciting, extraordinary, amazing stuff that I can't say anything about.
Oh, not even a little.
Nothing.
You just had to be right, huh, Dad?
Well, I'm absolutely looking forward to this game. It probably combines, well, my favorite genre is the Metroidvania genre, so to see something that's like created exclusively for Xbox Live is a massive thrill for me. So thanks very much for your time, guys.